Hey everybody, welcome to Hackerkast. It's just me and Robert R. Snake Hansen this week.
You say that like it's a bad thing, Matt.
It's just us. It's just me. I'm Matt Johansson, and you're Robert R. Snake Hansen. And I say you have a nickname. You have a cool nickname, so I gotta say. We have a very full week of stories this week. So we're gonna try to blow through more stories than we usually would, but cover less of them. Like less time on each one. So bear with us, and there'll be a blog post attached, so any particular thing you're interested in digging into, you can kind of go and dig into it. We'll still try to keep it at our normal short time frame. And in order to do that, I'm going to shut up and pass over to Robert, who is claiming that PCI says SSL is dead.
Yeah, this is pretty wild. Basically, the PCI Council's new advice or whatever coming up with a new standard is that there is no form of SSL that meets the definition of strong crypto. None. You have to go to TLS, and I can see this breaking basically every site on Earth. If you do happen to run a site and you have some SSL libraries, you're going to have to get rid of them pretty quick. You better start thinking about an upgrade plan. Crypto clusters, you're going to have to start figuring out how to get rid of those old SSL libraries and turn them all off, and just go to TLS. That's it. It's your only option.
Hey, Robert, this is breaking news here. SSL says PCI is dead.
I don't think either are right, unfortunately.
So I'm going to include a link in when I write the blog post up about this. One of the best talks I saw last year was a talk by Akamai about the future of SSL and TLS. And super cool stuff, all the features coming out, but they talked about this, that they still have customers, Akamai does, that are still using like ancient SSL that they need to, like they cannot not use SSL2 or whatever it is. And so they have to support this stuff, and it's yeah, these are the people that are going to be really upset about this. This one's pretty cool. This is a gigantic Facebook bug bounty. What was it, $12,000? You know, Magoo over at Facebook, well, now he's at HackerOne, but when he was running Facebook, he said that he would pay $1 million bounty if there was one. So, but yeah, this guy, what he was able to do is delete any public-facing Facebook post, or, I'm sorry, not post, picture, or any picture he had access to. So not necessarily public, but if he was your friend, he could make all your photos go away. He says with just 4 lines of code, he could delete any photo album on Facebook. The example they used in the article, of course, because it was Gizmodo, was Zuck's wedding photos gone. Yeah, it was just an API call, just a delete request to / some ID number, and that's it. Host was graph.facebook.com and some access token of what you had, and that was it. It would just delete that bucket that photo album was in. Robert, there's a lot of zeros on the end of this list of passwords. How many passwords did someone disclose?
Yes, someone disclosed 10 million usernames and passwords, not just passwords, usernames and passwords in combination. So that's a lot of people who are compromised. And if you actually read the post, he's obviously extremely concerned about his well-being, and is someone going to put him in jail for doing this, and all this kind of stuff. And you know, there's a bit of a chilling effect, especially with the modern legislation. But if you have to do some large brute force assessments on websites or whatever, this might be a very, very useful list. I mean, it typically takes about 1 day to go through about 4 million requests. So assuming you aren't banned by IP, you could probably make it through in about 2.5 days. And there's a very good chance you're going to find somebody who has access to a site if it's a large enough site without using the password combination. So.
Yeah, we don't need to use RockU anymore. What was RockU, like 100 and something thousand, or
100,000, but no usernames. So.
No usernames either. That's true. That's yeah, that's huge. Moving on. Next, this is a pretty cool one. So Pinterest took a pretty huge step in hurting themselves. It feels like they're almost hurting themselves for the sake of, you know, some better practices, some, you know, better overall internet citizenship. So they hard banned, like just announced it and like it's gone, all affiliate links and redirect tracker pins. So any sort of like pin on Pinterest that has a link back to some place that you could purchase that thing that you put a picture of, and if people that were getting kickbacks on that kind of thing as an affiliate, that's gone. No longer can do that. So some people's income sources are going to be going away, and they'll probably be pretty upset. And then what was it else, Robert? There was what was the redirect part? I missed the redirect part.
Yeah, the redirect, I mean, this is somebody like using like a bit.ly link or something, going through some redirector. And this is problematic not because it's necessarily a big security flaw or annoying to users. It is, but it's not that bad. More importantly, it really is confusing to users that they cut and paste the link from one place and suddenly Pinterest says no. So I think they might end up having to pull back on that one because that's just going to cause all kinds of problems, especially with like integration with Twitter and that kind of stuff. And then the last one was tracking, and the tracking one, I think, this could cause all kinds of problems for various different companies that do tracking, Google Analytics, Omniture, that kind of stuff, where people want to track how much traffic those Pinterest pages are getting.
Yeah, I see a screenshot. I'll post it in the blog post that. Yeah, like any URL shorteners like bit.ly or even Google's, goo.gl. Yeah, it says it shows a warning. It says we may block a link if the link redirects from one page to another, and then there's 4 other things that say spammy or misleading titles or inappropriate content, which all makes sense. But I guess they're kind of bucketing this redirect into a popular spam delivery method, which would be true. So this is kind of cool thing for them to do. I don't make money off of affiliate links on Pinterest, so I think it's a cool thing that they did to, for their users' benefit, overall benefit. Next. Oh, so this one was fun. So, Robert, you dug into this one a little bit more than I did, but I did look at a few. What massive facepalm did Jeb Bush do this week?
Yeah, this was weird. So I think Jeb Bush is intending to run for president, and so part of that is he wants to be open and transparent with everybody. So from 1999 to 2006, he basically published that array of emails to the world. Like, here you go. Here's all of my email for that time period, which just totally blew my mind. Like, who on earth would? I mean, it's bizarre.
While he was governor, right? This is emails that he received or sent while he was governor for over a decade. Sensitive
stuff, right? So I went through, and it's a little weird the dates he chose. I mean, he didn't go past there, but whatever. So this is sort of like the pre-Gulf War time frame, like kind of leading up to that, post 9/11, well, pre and post 9/11. So there's a lot of sort of like things happening with, as a governor, you sort of have to worry about like port security and that kind of stuff. And so he went on. He told all kinds of crazy things in these emails. Like, there's messages between like rear admirals and generals. There's like talk about like their coast guards like being like deployed to Iraq before the war started. Like, all kinds of super sensitive information. People who are like operatives, like CIA, operatives, like really, really super sensitive stuff. It was over a terabyte, or just under a terabyte rather, of email. I spent probably 3-4 hours going through it, and I found all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, who knows what else is buried deep in there? But one thing's for sure, this can't actually help.
So the thing that initially bit him was there was all sorts of personal information about the people who sent him the email. So like his constituents would send him an email with like their address, their phone number, like really personal information about themselves that they sent to his office, and just was published. It was like, oh, here's so-and-so writing to Jeb Bush. All right, so Jeb Bush, facepalm. Okay, facepalm of the week. Next one. So we were just talking about this, not on Hackerkast, but you and I were just having the conversation about this, and then boom, it happened. I guess our NoSQL spidey senses were tingling, but someone published some research this week of some MongoDB vulnerabilities that, well, not even really vulnerabilities. It's kind of funny. So they weren't circumventing any security measures that were put in place on purpose. There just wasn't security measures put in place. And it turns out a lot of like the default documentation of setting up Mongo in some sort of cloud environment like AWS just conveniently leaves out all, hey, you should probably put authentication mechanisms in here and encrypt the transfer of all of this data and yada yada. None of that's in the documentation, so people don't do it. So the default port that Mongo runs on, 27017, everyone knows that. That's the port that it runs on. So you could just scan the internet for this kind of stuff, or use a convenient tool like Shodan and look for installs of MongoDB, and like you can fingerprint a few things if they're just not doing anything right. So that's what this person did, and they found 40,000 MongoDB instances that were completely unsecured and just had open, unrestricted access to anything in them on the internet at Wild, thanks to Shodan. So Robert and I were just talking about NoSQL vulnerabilities and using Shodan to find internet-wide vulnerabilities. So these two came together. And
the lesson there is use some security when you're installing stuff.
Last little story of the week is some of Robert's favorite stuff. I always get WordPress and bug bounty stuff. Robert always gets Russia, China, or Tor, and this one's Russia and Tor. So what's going on, Robert?
So Russia has made some sort of preliminary guidance, and they look very seriously like they're going to do this. They are very serious about blocking Tor and VPN access through the country. So this is one of those things where I sort of have to sit back and wonder, maybe this actually is good for the rest of the world. It's not good at all for anyone living there, but it's they're sort of well, for certain people maybe, but they're sort of like this. We don't want any crime. We don't want anyone doing money laundering or child peddling and stuff. So there's some sort of valid reasoning behind it, but what's really going to end up happening is a whole bunch of bad guys aren't going to be able to start, hack us, basically people in the United States or elsewhere in the world, because they can't use Tor or VPNs. So I think what's going to end up happening is they're going to have to come up with some other means. The internet routes around damage, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. They're just going to find another way to contact these VPN servers to use Tor or whatever. So net effect will be basically nothing except for just a little bit more control in Russia for people who don't know better and just want to try it.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff we saw in Egypt last year during those crazy times, and people were standing up dial-up servers for people to point old modems to and stuff. Yeah, I mean, like you said, well, what's the Jurassic Park quote that fits here? Life finds a way. The internet finds a way, Robert. Okay. Yeah. That was all we had to talk about. Like I said, we kind of flew through a lot of this, so if you're interested in any of it, I'll blog with all the links. You can always talk to us on Twitter. I'm at Matt J. This is at rsnake or #Hackerkast. Subscribe to us on iTunes. We're on iTunes now. If you don't feel like looking at our ugly mugs, you can just listen to our beautiful voices. Great. All right. Yeah, and that's it. So thanks again for listening, guys, and see you next week.
Take it easy.